everyone, Tony D with another hot take. This one, finally, some good news. Out of all the bad news that just seems to come out of the news these days, although maybe it's not, I shouldn't say it's all bad, it's just very stressful, you know, the election and stuff going on with the Democrats. I don't know if I'd classify it as bad. It just seems very pointless and stupid, and I mean, it's certainly bad if you're a Democrat, but it seems very stressful. It seems like all the news we get, you know, nothing really good happens. And now with this virus and potential for an economic downturn and for potential for everyone to get sick, it all seems very, well, very dreary in the next couple of months. But this is an amazing bit of good news, and I'm happy to repeat it. I shouldn't say report it. I'm not a reporter, but the peace deal between the United States and Afghanistan has been signed. This is amazing news. You know, I said to myself when Trump got elected, man, you know, because he talked a big game, I said, man, if he ends the war in Afghanistan, I mean, that would be amazing. That would just be so worth it. And here it is. It's a signed deal. The details are basically the United States is going to draw down the troops to about 8,600 and then take them all out within 14 months. I'm not sure why 14 months. Unfortunately, that's past the election, but, you know, we could be heading there as the election happens, and then, so 14 months puts us in about, probably be 2 months from now next year, so March, April, end of April, May. So that would be, I mean, it would be epic. Finally, someone ended this thing. But, you know, it hasn't ended yet. And I don't want to throw shade on this good news, but, you know, there still is a chance Trump could lose. And if he does, you know, there's an excellent chance that whoever took over would completely, you know, stomp the brakes on leaving forever. So let us rejoice in this because, you know, you have to remember this war has been going on for 18 years, and I've covered it a lot in my comics. I've read a lot about it. I've read reports of, you know, I forget the actual fighting. The fighting was really nothing. I mean, we basically rolled in and took over the place. You know, the Afghanis, you have to understand, mostly live in a world that's still kind of the 13th century. Seriously. One of the jobs in Afghanistan, an actual job you could have in Afghanistan, and I believe you still could have it, is a guy who collects firewood. That's his job. He collects firewood for other people. This is the level of, you know, and I'm not insulting the Afghani people. I mean, you live how you live. I mean, that's your country. It's you know, it's a low technology country. There's nothing wrong with that. But, you know, I think it's shocking to a lot of people who don't realize just how low key the Afghanis have lived for centuries. That, you know, firewood collector is still an occupation. During the Obama administration, I remember that, you know, Hillary Clinton was running around as Secretary of State, and they were trying to impose our system on the Afghanis. And what the Afghanis kept telling them is, listen, you don't understand. We've never had a central government here. You know, at one point they were trying to push the Afghanis into collecting taxes from people. And, you know, the Afghanis were just like, you don't understand. We've never done that. We'd have to explain taxes to people, and they're not going to get it, and they're not going to want to pay us. And how do you collect taxes from a man who collects firewood? What do you collect a couple pieces of wood from him? So this is the problem, the Afghanis, as a country, you're talking about an incredibly mountainous region, an incredibly rural region, and one with no technology, like not zero, but very little technology. And you want to, centralize the government and collect taxes from these people. It's just not going to work. It's just insanity to even try. And who runs the country? Well, it's basically warlords, Taliban members, and what people forget, too, is that the Taliban came here. They were considered emissaries of Afghanistan back in the 90s. And yeah, they are still a bit backward, but they ran the country. They were able to provide protection to the average person from these warlords who generally, grow opium. And eventually the Taliban got into that in order to finance their war. And, their war forced them all to learn technology. So there was a story where the Afghanis actually bought some software and hacked a drone. They bought the software online, this is a true story, for about $12, and they were able to hack the drone. Now, they weren't able to control it, thankfully, but they were able to see what the drone was seeing. So it just goes to show you, human ingenuity will eventually push people into doing what they need to do. The Afghanis, you're talking about people who literally came out of the 13th century and they mastered computers just enough to hack a drone because they needed to do that. They needed to somehow, get a leg up on this thing as they're getting bombed and shot and blown up. And, their guerrilla warfare was very effective. They blew people up. They planted bombs. They committed insider attacks. I covered that in the comic. There was a case where, some Afghanis joined the military that were training, and this happened quite a bit, and it was predicted by the late, great Justin Raimondo over at antiwar.com that once we started training the Afghanis, we'd have to worry about these insider attacks, and there were quite a few of them. And it would just be Afghanis who would go through the training process, and they'd get to a point, and then they'd decide, okay, I'm going to kill a bunch of people. They considered the Americans, us, the enemy, and they're trying to get rid of us. They're trying to get us out of their country. So, so it would be, imagine the same thing here. The Chinese take over, and they're trying to train a new communist force to occupy the country so they can finally leave. People would join up and they would pretend to be communists and they'd say the things they need to say. And then eventually, once they got a gun and got some responsibilities, they're like, okay, how much damage can I do before these guys shoot me? Because, once you're at the point where you have nothing to lose, once you pretty much are just biding your time until you get blown up in a drone strike or somebody shoots you, you might as well go out fighting. Once your family gets wiped out, you go to collect some firewood, or you go out on a hunt maybe, or to take the livestock to go graze, and then you come back and everybody in your village is dead. You really have nothing to lose at that point. You join up with the Taliban and you go. So there are some great signs that this peace deal is for real. There was a picture in the Daily Mail, and Tim Pool covered this, of one of the generals without his gear on, no flak jacket, taking selfies with the locals. And this is a great sign because, the locals for him are probably the people in Kabul. And, the people in Kabul, although they pretty much subsist by the American presence, the fact that they're smiling and taking selfies with an American general, and that this is all coming to an end, it's a good sign that there is, there's an actual happiness and positivity about, the Americans leaving, and the Americans are happy to leave, and, You know, it's all a net positive, and everybody's sick of this endless war. So, oh, and also Pompeo's totally pissed off, and which is a great sign too, because this guy, you know, he's part of the military-industrial complex. It's funny that he is Trump's guy and continues. I got to hand it to him. He continues to listen to Trump. Trump's got him on a short leash, though. He does not want this to be over. You know, I'm sure he greatly disagrees with Trump, but he follows orders. He's a good soldier in that respect, and not a soldier really, but you know what I'm saying. So, you know, the fact that Trump can just say, "Listen, I don't care if you are against this. This is, oh, sir, you know, I really don't think we should pull out of Afghanistan." Well, your protest has been noted. Now go pull out of Afghanistan. I mean, that's, you know, that's great. I hope there's not a, you know, another shoe to drop in this deal. I mean, one of the darkest chapters in this whole mess was, and you could see this on the anti-war comic that I do, was the story about the Chai Boys. And this is unfortunately still going on. I hope on the way out some of our guys actually shoot these a-holes, but it's probably not going to happen. The warlords have, I guess you'd call it a sick tradition of employing young boys, you know, we're talking 12, 10, 11, 12, 13, as their servants, and then they have sex with them. So the Chai Boys basically get raped by these warlords. I mean, and this has been a huge issue for the United States, obviously, and there have been, some of our soldiers have lost their commissions because they've tried to report these guys, and you know, they've gotten very upset because this is unacceptable behavior. And this is one of the reasons why we should not be in these other countries. That this could be acceptable behavior in a foreign country, you know, we would have to make it unacceptable there. And basically line all these warlords up and shoot them or throw them in jail. And, yeah, and then good luck. You know, unfortunately, good luck running the country then. The warlords basically run the place. So, you know, and some might say, well, we can't abandon those kids and the women, they live under terrible conditions. You know, that is an argument, but it is also not the case that when people signed up to join our volunteer army, that they signed up to transform a country that's still sort of steeped in the 13th century. You know, they signed up to protect this country. Right, little Joan? Right, little Joan? Oh, good news, little Joan. Yes. So, kudos to Donald Trump and his team for making this happen. He deserves all the credit in the world, because I think he's probably the only person in Washington, D.C., except maybe, I guess, Rand Paul and formerly Dennis Kucinich, who used to be in Washington, who actually who made real strides to end this thing. And, you know, and I'm sure the military-industrial complex and the forces within them are, you know, either they're allowing this to happen because something bigger is on the forefront, or they are actively trying to undermine it and may be successful in doing so. Let's hope not. Let's hope it goes well and we get out of there, you know, very soon. So, good news today. Enjoy it, fellow anti-war people. Enjoy it.